Yes.
So, namaste, good morning, and welcome to the Vedanta Center of Greater Austin and our meditation class. This is the last Sunday of the month, so we will have our monthly meditation class today. So as always, I'll begin with a chant, and then I'll give a little introduction, and then we'll begin the guided meditation. Om Ardram Jwalati Jyotirahhamasmi Jyotir Jwalati Brahmahamasmi Yohamasmi Brahmahamasmi Ahamasmi Brahmahamasmi Ahamevaham Mam Juhomi Swaha. Melting into the light, I am the light that shines. The light shines, the light which is Brahman. That which I am is nothing but Brahman. I exist, and I exist as Brahman. I myself offer myself into the infinite light, which is myself. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So, as always, let me begin by giving an introduction to meditation. Meditation can be seen from a variety of perspectives. One of the ways to see meditation is as concentrating the mind. The mind is dispersed, thinking about all kinds of different things. And so meditation is an effort to bring the mind into focus, to bring the rays of the mind into focus. So we're not creating anything new. We are simply gathering the existing rays of the mind and directing them. Another way of thinking of the mind, of meditation is that the normal state of mind is distracted like the waves on a lake that's chopped by the wind, chopped into waves by the wind. And so meditation is bringing tranquility to the mind so that it can correctly and purely reflect the light of truth. And so one thing is bringing the mind into focus. Another is bringing the mind into a state of tranquility so that it is a reflector of the truth. Another way to think of meditation is making the mind present. Most of the time, we are only half conscious. We're thinking all kinds of thoughts and we're not even aware of what we're thinking. The mind is just rambling on with its various tapes, as they're sometimes called, like the old cassette tapes. Soon we'll have to come to another metaphor because people are gradually forgetting what tapes are. But all of us are old enough to know tapes quite well. So the tapes of the mind go on running and we're hardly aware of what we're thinking. And so much of our life passes with us being unaware. And so meditation can also be seen as being present, bringing the mind into the here and now, attentively and paying attention to what is right in front of us. In front of us means the object of meditation. So in this meditation class for Austin, I often give, and I will give today, practices which help to make the mind present. That is, make the mind attentive and make us aware of being attentive. The reason for that is there are a variety of people who join the class with different types of meditation practices. And so I want to give general practices for the most part. There'll be exceptions, but for the most part, general practices which are helpful to a wide variety of people. Also, in our Ramakrishna tradition, most people eventually who get initiation, they practice a mantra and so forth. But we haven't emphasized mindfulness that much. And I think that that's something that we need to emphasize in our tradition. because the practice of a mantra, visualization, other such practices, even self-inquiry and all such practices are enhanced by mindfulness, that is, keeping the mind attentive and present. And so the most of the practices I give are in this meditation class have been and will be directed towards making the mind present. So one of the things that we want to do in meditation practice is to get a little taste, and that's the purpose of the guided meditation, to give a taste of a different quality of mind. And so if we get a taste for what it feels like when the mind is centered, when the mind is attentive, when the mind is present with what we're doing, aware, then we have something to go back to, something to contrast with our normal distracted state of mind. So in the course of the day, when we find that the mind is distracted, it's running all over, it's just jumping about in its own way, then we have something to contrast with that, and we can take a moment just to bring the mind back into a focused state. And then we can do japa or prayer or any kind of practice that we normally do. But first, to bring the mind into a centered state where I feel present right here, not my mind going out there somewhere and I don't even know where it's going, but have the mind right here, present and aware. So with that, let me begin the actual guided meditation. And I've already said the chant I usually say at the beginning of meditation. So instead of that, let me say now the Gayatri Mantra. I'll repeat it. I'll say the English, then the Sanskrit, and then the English again. And then we'll begin the guided meditation. Om Bhurbhuva Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. We meditate on the luminous glory of that effulgent being who has projected the worlds. May that illuminate our hearts. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om. We meditate on the effulgent glory of that luminous being who has projected the worlds. May that illuminate our hearts. Om. Now, as always in the guided meditation, I will give step-by-step instructions. So listen to each instruction first, and then try to practice it the best that you can until the next instruction. Let us begin by taking 4 deep breaths, breathing in deeply, exhaling completely, holding the lungs empty for a moment or two, beginning again doing that 4 times in order to calm the body and the mind. And now let us use the breath as a vehicle for sending out thoughts of goodwill towards all beings everywhere, remembering that in the welfare of others lies our own welfare, and that in the ability to send out thoughts of goodwill towards all lies the freedom of mind to turn within in meditation. That is, at some level, we have to make peace with the world around us in order to have the mind free so that it can turn within. Otherwise, the mind is obsessed with trying to break what it feels is a broken relationship, which should not be broken. And indeed, it should not be, because there's one continuity of being inside and out. Eventually, we see there's no difference between inside and outside. But at present, it's the excessive awareness of the body which creates the sense of an inside and an outside. So again, as I always say, remember that we can't establish perfect social harmony at the social level, because of the different desires and self-centeredness of living beings. But what we can do is establish a sense of harmony with all that exists deeper than the social level, which is sustained even in the midst of social disharmony. That's why a spiritual person, even if they get upset with someone else, they recover very quickly, because that's just on the surface. And there's a deeper sense of harmony with all. So in order to foster that deep sense of harmony with all, let us think as we breathe in that we are filling ourselves with goodwill. And we can think to ourselves the word goodwill to focus the feeling. Feel that we are breathing in goodwill from all of the good and holy sources of the universe. We're breathing it in through every pore of the skin. And then as we breathe out, think that we are breathing that goodwill out in all directions towards all beings everywhere, without hesitation, without restriction, with words such as, may all beings everywhere realize what is good. So breathe in goodwill, breathe out, may all beings everywhere realize what is good, and continue in that way till the next instruction. Breathe in goodwill, breathe out, may all beings everywhere realize what is good. And now let us turn our attention to the physical body in order to bring it into a deeper state of harmony, so that it serves as an instrument of concentration and not as an obstacle, as so often it is. If we can refine our sense of bodily awareness, we find that it's a great help in meditation, and eventually it leads to the relaxing of the sense of the body's presence to the point where the body itself, perception of the body itself, disappears in deeper concentration. But first we have to refine that awareness. So let us think of each part of the body, starting from the toes and working up gradually part by part, thinking of each part as pure, perfect, and full of light, picturing it in the mind's eye as pure, perfect, and full of light. In that way, go part by part from the toes up gradually to the top of the head. And after coming to the top of the head, picture the whole body at once as pure, perfect, full of light, as a God-given instrument for the realization of truth in this very life. So again, start with the toes, work up part by part, picturing each part as pure, perfect, and full of light, and then the whole at once. After coming to the top of the head, briefly scan over the body once again, looking for any remaining points of tension, such as a tightness in a muscle, system of muscles, or a joint. Bathe any such area in the light of your awareness, as it were, and feel that it is relaxing and coming into harmony with the rest of the body. And then return to contemplation of the whole body at once. Try to feel the body, try to experience the body as one harmonious field or system of energy, not as a solid, heavy material object as normally we experience it, but as a harmonious field or system of energy. That is, when the eyes are closed and you're not looking at the body, you're not seeing the body with the eyes, you have a sense of the body's presence, whereby you can feel directly the crown of your head, the small of your back, etc. Places you can't see directly with the eye, you can feel them directly. that sensation of the body's presence is the direct experience of the body as a field or system of energy, that almost tingling field of sensation, which is the experience of the body when your eyes are closed. But normally we superimpose on that the ideas of the body's solidity, materiality, heaviness, etc. Try to feel it just as sensation without superimposing those other ideas, just as that vibratory feeling of the body's presence. Wherever you feel any special points of pressure, such as your feet on the floor, seat on the chair, hands on your lap, try to feel such points of pressure as simply concentrations of sensation. That is, don't interpret that sensation as my solid hands resting on my solid lap or my solid feet resting on the solid floor. Think of it just in terms, or experience it just in terms of the sensation, without superimposing those other ideas that we get from our normal experience. Just feel it as concentrations of sensation, or feel such areas as concentrations of sensation in the general field of sensation, which is the body, but blending slowly back into the general field of sensation, which is the body, without a definite boundary or border. And in that way, you can come to a point where you feel practically weightless and floating. This itself, as we have seen in past meditation classes, can be developed into a meditation in itself. That is, just holding the outline of the body, the sensation of the body's presence, the whole of the body, holding that in your attention. Not to emphasize the body, not to realize the body in any sense. The purpose is to gain the power of paying attention. And to do that, it's best to take something which is already in your experience. You don't have to imagine it. And so that sensation of the body's presence is already with you. You don't have to imagine it. And so you just pay attention to it. That itself is a very good meditation in itself for developing the power of attention. And if one follows it long enough, one finds that the sensation of the body gradually melts away, and one just feels an extended field of awareness where there is no inside and no outside. The body as this sort of envelope of sensation that just melts into the general field of perception. But for today, we are using this exercise just to bring the mind into a state of harmony and attentiveness, So let's spend another minute or so just being aware of the sensation of the body, and then we will go to the main exercise for today. When we use this as our meditation technique, think of the sensation of the body as simply an anchor to hold your attention here and now. That's the purpose of focusing on the sensation of the body. Nothing but a way of anchoring the attention in the here and now so that we develop the power of attention, what is also called the power of mindfulness. But for today, let us go to another exercise which we've done at least once before, maybe only once before in this class, online class. And that is counting the breaths, which is a very good way of learning to pay attention because you get immediate feedback whether you are paying attention or not. And so you get a way of differentiating between a mindful state and a distracted state. And it's that differentiation, experienced differentiation, that allows you to come back to a state of mindfulness because you have experienced it and you know what it is. And so you can come back, you have something to come back to within your experience. So in this exercise, we will each silently, inwardly, we will count from 1 to 10 exhalations. That is 1 to 10 cycles of breath, inhalation and exhalation, but counting on the exhalation. The reason for counting on the exhalation, there's more than one reason, but I'll just give one for now for simplicity's sake. And that is by emphasizing the exhalation, we are emphasizing letting go. If we emphasize the inhalation, we are emphasizing the taking in. But by emphasizing the letting go process of exhalation, it allows us to relax in an alert way more easily. So in this process, you'll count from 1 to 10 exhalations, which anyone can do who can count. But the difficulty in the exercise lies that whenever you find that your mind has wandered away, left the attention to the breath, then you stop, begin again at 1, and you come to 10 only if there's been no break in your attention. Stray thoughts will arise that you can't stop at present. That takes a very high level of development before stray thoughts themselves disappear. So divide your attention into the central focus, which must stay with the breathing and the counting of the breath, and let stray thoughts sort of rise and set under their own momentum in the periphery of your attention. Don't bother with them. Don't follow them. Don't pay attention to them. But don't try to suppress them either. Just let them come and go. But keep the center of your attention on the breathing and the counting of the exhalations. And try to get to 10 without any break. But again, in the process, whenever you find the mind has wandered away, bring it back and start again at 1, trying to get as close to 10 as you can. And continue in that way. In order to be more attentive, we need to have a place to fix the mind. Otherwise, the mind jumps around and it's difficult to pay attention at all. So there are different ways in which one can fix their attention, but we need only one way for this exercise. And so fix your attention at the nostrils where you feel the breath entering and leaving the body. On your own, you can experiment with other ways. You can also think of the diaphragm as it rises and drops as you breathe out and breathe in. But for now, just fix your attention at the nostrils where you feel the sensation of the breath entering and leaving your body. And just post your attention there, as it were, and watch the breath come in and watch it go out, and count the exhalations from 1 to 10. In this exercise, it's difficult to get beyond 2 or 3. So don't get frustrated with yourself. With practice, you get much better at it until you can come to 10 from time to time. And eventually you can come to 10 repeatedly, only occasionally losing your attention along the way. So without frustration, just keep trying to count from 1 to 10 exhalations, bringing the mind back every time that you find the mind has actually left the breath and the counting of the breath to think about other things. In the beginning, as you practice this counting of the breaths, it can be helpful, and do it only if you find it helpful, but it can be helpful to the process of keeping your attention on the breathing and the counting of the breaths when you're posting your attention at the tip of the nose, to with your finger to lightly press the tip of your nose just to help keep your attention there. Little tricks like that can help you in fixing your attention a little bit longer than you could otherwise. Also, the first 2 or 3 breaths that you take, if you take deep and strong breaths, again, it brings your attention more forcefully to the breathing. Don't hyperventilate, but just a couple of breaths if you breathe in a little more aggressively, like that, for just a couple of breaths, and then normalize your breath after that. But that helps bring your mind here more easily, and then try to, with normal breath, keep the mind there. So if you find either of those things or other ways helpful, then you can introduce those into your practice to help keep your attention at the tip of the nose, watching the breath as it flows in and as it flows out, and as you count the breath. So let's spend another minute or so continuing the same practice before we close. And now let us each in our own way offer the fruits of our meditation to the divine being, however we think of that reality. Offer the fruits of our meditation to the divine being for the welfare of all beings, that all beings may participate in our meditation. And now I will chant the Gayatri Mantra again, in English, then Sanskrit, and then English. And we will close the meditation. And as always, after closing the meditation, I'll simply sign off, because we don't want to immediately go from meditation into interaction. So again, I'll say the chant, then give the gong, and then sign out. And before going, let me, at this point, wish all of you a good and auspicious weekend and week ahead. May we meditate on the effulgent glory of that luminous being who has projected the worlds. May that illuminate our hearts. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the effulgent glory of that luminous being who has projected the worlds. May that illuminate our hearts. Om.